Hello, everybody. It is Sunday, the 16th of August. I want to put a thought out here just very quickly. I don't actually have much time. I have to get ready for work soon. Um, just something that came to me after I made my video yesterday. And it's really just a trail of thought. I have no way of proving or disproving it. Just exploring a possibility. But then whatever we create in this world, it starts with a thought and then exploring that possibility. So I just want to put a thought out here, a starting point. It came to me, actually, even while I was making the video yesterday, my thoughts were already trailing off into a possibility. I was talking about our eyes and our ears and really making a connection then with what Jesus said, those that have eyes to see and ears to hear. A greater reality, really. And when I said that, if we have new knowledge, that knowledge opens new possibilities. You can think about things differently, and you can think about possibilities differently in the new knowledge, which is a shift that is occurring at the moment that is opening doors to other possibilities that we hadn't thought of before. Now, the first thing I want to say again is this idea that, nothing is real. It's really just saying, folks, there's nothing happening here. Move on. Nothing to see, nothing to hear, just move on. That is all that is saying. And that is obviously sheep herding people away from the truth, from seeing and hearing the truth. If you say there's nothing there. So let's put that to one side, forget it. I was also thinking about David Icke again yesterday, this other thing that he's putting out about being trapped in a body, that we can only receive a very small spectrum of light. Yeah. And I thought it's really funny. I wonder if he realizes what he's saying and who that will serve. Whatever knowledge we are given or whatever way we are being given to look at something is serving somebody. Yeah. So when he says it is the fault of the body, and a lot of people blame the body for just about everything. Yeah, it is the flesh. It is the sinful flesh that is doing these things. And when he says we can only receive that small spectrum of light, then he's saying the body is not only a trap, it is inferior. And whilst he is going on against the AI and the technocrats, that argument actually serves them. That is exactly their argument, that this body is inferior and needs to be enhanced by implants or whatever. So I wonder if David Icke made that dot connection. That what he's saying is actually serving the argument of the technocrats, even though he doesn't want to go there. Right. Now, if we think about things differently, new knowledge, a new way of understanding what is actually happening when we see and when we hear. So the new idea is that we are not actually producing sound, but only sound waves. Yeah? Our, what is it called? Doesn't matter. it vibrates, it creates waves. And that our ears are actually picking up waves. Yeah. And that is not the ears that determine what is being heard. They just pick up the waves. But it is the brain that is translating what is being said, or the waves, into sound. And that is the process of hearing. It's not that you're not hearing or not really hearing. You are really hearing. That is just what the new thinking says is the process of hearing. So, and the same with the light waves that are being decoded by the brain. So then you could say from the start that what we hear and what we see is actually not the fault of our eyes or ears. Yeah, it is the brain that is decoding it. That is somehow maybe not decoding everything that is there. That's the thing. That's where I want to get to. It's not our eyes or our ears that can only pick up a narrow band of frequency, but maybe they pick up the lot, the eyes and the ears. It is the brain that is narrowing it down, only decoding certain things and not others. So then the narrow band, the restriction is not caused by the eyes or the ears, but by the brain. And then what is causing the brain to select what it is selecting? Yeah. Let's say the brain has not got a will of its own, but there is something directing the brain. So we should operate, or we are operating this body. We are the operators. Then the brain is not making its selection out of a will that is in the brain, but by your will, by our will. We decide what we see and what we don't see. I was thinking about the old biblical stories. Especially the story of, I never can remember which prophet that was. That was stood there was a student, one of his students. They were in a difficult situation, and there were chariots and angelic beings all around them, which the student could not see. Yeah, that intervened in the situation. So you would say, are they in a different dimension, or are they on a slightly different wavelength, the wavelength that we do not decode? Our brain does not decode. Is that what a different dimension is? It's just a different wavelength. Anyway, the prophet, for a moment, opened the eyes of the student to the truth. I mean, just listen to the words. He opened his eyes. And that's what the Bible is talking about a lot, the opening of eyes. And the student could see the angelic beings all around them. Now, again, the student did not step into a new reality. They were always there. I would say, from the thinking that we have now, I would say his brain did not decode that. So when it says and here's the question, what did the prophet actually do? I mean, the student did not all of a sudden grow a new pair of eyes, or temporarily have a new pair of eyes. It's still the same eyes. I don't know what the prophet did. to open the awareness of the student deciding. There are so many stories like that in the Bible. Yeah. And people ask the completely wrong questions, especially those that go by whether that is historical truth. That is a conveyance of knowledge by using a story, by using a character that is experiencing this. The question whether that is historically accurate or not is neither here nor there. What we should really ask is what is happening in that story, and is that truth? And when I say is that truth, is that possible? Was that an experienced reality? Are they conveying the knowledge of an experienced reality? And if one person could do that, can we all do that? Because we all have the same body. Again, was the prophet in a completely different body, with different eyes and different ears? Or were those the capabilities of a human being? And the knowledge of that is conveyed in the story. But I mean, if you have, let's go to the beginning. If you have the idea that we are producing sound and that the sound travels into the ears, or that we see the actual object and not the light reflecting off the object. So we see the actual object, and that it's like a full picture that is going into the eyes. By that explanation, you could not even think about what happened there with the prophet. If you go by the narrative, you couldn't even start to think about what happened with the prophet. You couldn't explain why one person would see something and another person would not. But if you think about it as vibrations, as waves that are being decoded by the brain, then you can absolutely explain why one person would see a thing and another would not. Because in one person, the brain would decode some of those brains, and in the other, it would not. And that would determine what they would see. And then, really ask yourself, what is restricting what the brain is decoding? If you say the body is just a machine with no will of its own, and what you see as bodily urges, let's say like that, hunger, or the knowledge that some damage has occurred, well, you are using this body, and like your car, you would need to look after it for the body to function. And if you feel hunger or thirst or physical pain, that is just like warning lights going up on the dashboard of your car, telling you there's something you need to look to keep the machine running, to keep the car running, or it will break down. And I mean, if you want to go on exploring this, then you should look after this body. But the body itself does not determine. The brain itself, I would say, has no free will. But there's something operating it. We are operating it. And we are the ones that determine what we see and what we hear. We are directing our brain into what it should decode and shouldn't decode. So what is stopping us from decoding certain things? Disbelief, maybe. I mean, the Bible talks about belief. I mean, that there's no point in looking for something if you don't think it's there. Why would you look for it? That again is the whole point of everybody move on. There's nothing to see here. It stops you from even searching. Fear, absolutely fear, would stop it. And we are being driven into fear. Not only the fear of what is out there, but the fear of what others around us would do if we were go around saying we're seeing things. I mean, this is actually where we have the opportunity at the moment. You might be laughed at, but at least you're not getting burned at the stake. At the moment, people are a lot more free to say if they are seeing something, if they are hearing something. They're not necessarily or ending up in a mental hospital. Yeah, this is the freedom we've got at the moment to explore these things. But as I said, you get a new way of looking at it that is opening doors to other possibilities of how this might work. You can start thinking about these old stories in a way where you can say, yeah, that could actually work. Whereas under the old understanding, how? There was no how. There was no way of thinking about how that could work. Now we have that way. As I said, it's only a thought. It's only a trail of thought. It's only a possibility. But everything we do, everything we discover starts with a thought. The thought of a possibility. And that is all I'm putting here. So say I cannot prove it or disprove it. I just wanted to put the thought out there. But this body is actually not restricted. As I said, it's already working on the level of energy and vibration, picking up information in that way. And then if we say we only are on a narrow band, what is restricting that? Is the body actually not capable of picking those wavelengths up? Or are we preventing it from doing it? Are we not using this body, this biological machine? I hate this word. But are we not using it to the full extent of what it is capable of? Anyway, I think I leave it at that for today. As I said, just the thought to explore the possibilities of it. I leave it at that, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.